Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. So last time we did Gladiator, which really felt like a throwback for all the bad properties of a 70s table. And then Dracula was unimpressive and Fishtails and Doctor Who weren't particularly impressive. So far we've only had the Getaway High Speed 2 as particularly a great table. So today we're looking at Judge Dredd, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, this is a pretty great movie table. Now, this is 1993, so is this based off of the original Judge Dredd movie, or is this completely based off the comic? From the looks of the art alone, it looks like it's more based off the comic.
Say goodnight, punk.
Which the Judge Dredd comic is a long running comic that is much more known, I would say, in Europe than in the United States. So a lot of these characters I may not be able to recognize. Um, a lot of the stories and events may not be very recognizable. Let's see. Judge Dredd 1993 was designed by John Trudeau and was part of Williams Midway's Super Pin line of wide body games. It's really weird for them to bring back wide body pinball tables. Um, Although at a certain point, I guess it just kind of makes sense that what once was old becomes new again, and you're just constantly looking for gimmicks on pinball, anyways. Based on the comic series 2000 AD, which includes Judge Dredd and other things, I believe, players take the role of the most respected and feared lawman in Mega City 1, Judge Dredd. Their challenge is to patrol the streets while apprehending criminals and defending justice. The playfield is loaded with features including the rotating Dead World planet, triple deck wire form ramps, and a magnetic robotic arm that picks up the ball. This is the only Super Pin to feature Super Games, which are 4 additional multi-ball games that can be played with an additional credit. 6,990 units of this table were produced. So this does put an interesting spin on what the standard goals would even be if there are basically 2 games in one. So you have gold feet from the looks of it. You still can't really, even though I figured out you can zoom out, you still can't really get an angle if you just want to see the table legs, even though that some of these legs are obviously being made. And then you have the eagle at the top of the backboard. Let's just start with the backboard. So here you have the main female character who is psychic. Here you have Judge Dredd on a motorcycle. I would say the original Judge Dredd movie is more of a Sylvester Stallone style comic than anything else. Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off. I believe there is also some protection around having the helmet on from psychic people potentially attacking. In the back is Judge Dead, I believe. But then this might be Judge Dead, so there might be some more to the story than that. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of room for stuff. So you select mode, you have a missile launcher. This is kind of a kickback that's not quite a kickback. You have a ball launcher that launches what seems like fairly fast down to the in lane, so you're not going to have a considerable amount of time to recover or flip that ball. The reason why there is a bend in the in lanes in the first place is because that slows down the ball and gives you kind of a consistent amount of time to respond. Here we have yet another table with a barcode on it. I don't. Maybe that was just some kind of legal requirement that I'm not aware of. You have a left lane that shoots up here and looks like it ramps somewhere. It ramps over here all the way around and loops back over there. We have a top left, top right flipper. Man, I can't ever keep the right and left straight in my mind. In a top left flipper, you have a red, yellow, and blue police siren light. Very similar, I think. Uh, very possibly used very similarly to the high-speed Hot Pursuit games. And then you have this Dead World thing that must, at some point, the ball must get picked up. Like the ball must come up here and hit a gate at some point, land on top of this, and then this crane must pick up the ball. And I don't know exactly where that drops it, but I suspect it's probably here. Otherwise, I don't know what this whole ramp is all about. I guess you get to this ramp by this point. So maybe you land the ball here, the crane picks it up, and then drops it on Dead World. It seems like Dead World potentially spins this entire disc to have the ball drop down. That would be my guess. If not, then this locks the ball and then spins it around, and the multi-ball is just this entire big disc. This is really a huge toy with a couple other things, and I could see why you would have a wide body table if you wanted to have such a large toy, but you could have definitely scaled that down too. We've got drop down targets, spelling judge here. I feel like there's probably pop-up bumpers under this disc, but I can't really say. If anything, that whole area might just be underused. There's another loop to something. It looks like the ball pops up here, but then there's a horseshoe around that. And again, you probably are only going to get with the smaller flipper. You have kind of like a regular size flipper, and then you have a smaller flipper, and then another ramp that splits off in a couple different places, or two ramps on top of each other going off in different directions, or three ramps on top of each other going in different directions. It does look crazy that you would have such a big table. There's a trapped ball here, a trapped ball there, a trapped ball there. So 3 trapped pinballs, which is excessive to say the least. 2 in lanes over here. A launcher with an automatic launcher. I assume there's a video mode in this table. There's definitely too many ramps. Like, you could get rid of 2 or 3 of these ramps or merge them together. Like, at the very least, the toggle of these 2 on top of each other, holding each other up, didn't really need to happen. Because this one could have just connected into this one and dropped the ball down the same place. And I would have connected this one actually more to this one, so it would drop in the same area. Looks like there's a decent collection of missions that we're going to go against. So it seems like there are other judges besides just Judge Dredd that I do recognize, because I haven't actually read the Judge Dredd 2001 2000 AD thing. So there must be a Judge Fire and the Judge. What is that supposed to say? Like, it looks like Pestilence is supposed to be the name, but it's all scratched through. I can't even read it. And the Judge Fear. I don't know if in the comic they actually do have big orbs that they might use. Otherwise, that's just the other character, the female character, which I forget her name. So there's definitely some shots here. Maybe not enough shots. Maybe too many ramps, not enough shots. No need really for a wide body. No need for this Dead World to work the way it does. It seems like what might be the case here is that there are actually two discs on top of each other, and the top disc spins and the bottom disc doesn't to move the balls around. It is definitely an interesting table, just visually. It's an interesting license, too, because if they were going to go with comic book license, you'd think they'd go Marvel or DC, but we don't really see a lot of that. Instead, we have a foreign comic book company willing to license, and even thinking of like European foreign comic characters, Judge Dredd is probably a good pick, but not the only pick, certainly. You could have had, for instance, like a Tintin table or a Winnie the Pooh table, and you could go more kid-friendly. So we want to complete a skill shot, score a two-way combo, complete a felony crime scene, take out the sniper, and earn an extra ball. Let's go ahead and look at the flyer. So it definitely feels very comic booky, even in the way it's been designed here. The flyer has been designed to look like a comic book. And they've pretty much did not bother to show the table at all. Judge Anderson is the girl's name, as it were, or the woman's name. Yeah, they are really not interested in showing the table. Alright, well, suppose you hit start. With the controller, I don't even think I can actually select anything but start. I don't think I can hit left to select Super Game. I can hit left to change the ball skins, and that's it. So I'd have to use my mouse to play the Super Game anyways.
Computer online. Welcome aboard.
So I just used the second.
Rain shield deactivated.
I used the second button to launch instead of the flipper and right analog stick. I like the music here. It'll just be a question about how long can the music last before it starts looping. Feels like there might be some sneak-in shots behind that. Behind the drop-down targets, which are taking up a lot of the center lane shots.
Life or terrorism.
I think there's a problem
5 million.
with this table.
Dimensional phase 3 is lit.
Sniper is shooting into crowd from Johnson Tower.
Shoot sniper tower.
So yeah,
Excellent.
what I'm seeing here is a table that is very centric around these center lane shots, and you're gonna have to get really good at getting the ball down to the left ramps or to the top left flipper to get to the right areas. And so, like, right now, you can kind of see how there is not a lot going on as far as areas that you can actually hit. There's like 2 or 3 things blinking. Now we've got it up to 3 or 4 things blinking.
Dimensional phase 2.
I've I've twice now gone up a ramp and then weakly
85 years
fallen
for
backwards. I feel like a lot of the video that's happening right now is probably pretty interesting, but I'm keeping my eyes away from it.
5%.
Alright, so that's multi-ball. And we can see that Dead World, it does have a ball locked. So this is like a 4-ball multi-ball, which with 3 more captive balls on the field
Jackpot is lit.
does kind of highlight how Pinball Arcade needs enough physics to be able to run probably 9 or 10 different balls on the table at the same time. And that might not be as demanding as it really sounds.
Jackpot is lit.
great shot.
Audio-wise, I don't like the spinning sound of the Dead World, but clearly I'm going to have to learn to love it if I was going to play this table a lot, because that's the thing you're aiming for. And this is an easier table than it looks like,
Get the
because
extra ball.
I've already like gotten an extra ball, unlit another extra ball.
Wake up, you geezer. I'll be back.
There you go. Stealing Arnold Schwarzenegger's line. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger may have originally been planned to be Judge Dredd. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone competed for a lot of action movie roles during the time. The newer Judge Dredd movie is far more quality in my
Suspicious
book.
character reported at Eugene Block.
Life or cannibalism.
Like, but I don't know
Shoot left
if
red.
there's a good argument when that movie came out, since that was kind of a almost indie-like movie that wasn't as pushed or promoted. I don't know if you would have potentially licensed the new movie and made a remake of this table with the visuals of that new movie and make some changes. I suspect the reason why they may have decided to make new wide body tables again is because they got a bunch of the old wide body tables back and were recycling them. And it would just be awkward to use a table that was a regular size.
Be on the alert for looters.
Send backup.
And immediately I got a score doubler there and immediately drained the balls.
35 years for arms dealing.
Dimensional phase 1.
The joke is that in the future, crime has gotten so rampant and the population has gotten so high, in case you're not familiar with the story of Judge Dredd, that he is judge, jury, and executioner on the scene, and even the smallest infraction will get you extremely long times in prison cubes, if not executed.
All reactors stabilized.
But it is a very much a Mad Max type future where there's all kinds of mutants and things like
Radar
that,
indicates an extra ball.
and it's pretty much
Don't move.
impossible to live outside of the mega cities, because there's just
Control. I'm in pursuit of a stolen vehicle.
no water. I think pollution, things like that, radiation, or just wild
5,
bad guys all throughout the wastelands. So there is like this whole video mode going on
driving days are
in that
over.
section, but I was still playing pinball during the time.
Interrupted at hyped music.
$5 million.
So now the pop-up targets in the center are popping back up, and they want me to basically tase the
Dimensional
singer.
phase 2.
Dead World is a different dimension, I assume. That's why we have dimensional phase 1, dimensional phase 2. That's probably locking the
Great.
multi-ball shots.
Scratch one creep.
This is too easy at the table. I can definitely feel that. In one lucky first game to get 2 or 3 of the standard goals, to be able to get 2 or 3 extra balls in a lucky game when you're still just warming up and learning the table. Arguably though, maybe
Taking out
the
a crack house in sector 23.
maybe the mega game option makes it more difficult, and maybe there's
$5 million.
a benefit to that.
I wonder what's down.
Shoot right ramp.
Interesting. Life for cannibalism. 10 years for solicitation.
Shoot right ramp.
There certainly is a problem with a theme like this as far as a video game critic, because not really knowing a lot about Judge Dredd, I don't have a lot to say. I know there's like one Judge Dredd video game that's good, and there probably were a couple other Judge Dredd games that weren't so good. So then I have to just evaluate this table by its actual design. And
Dimensional
they've
phase 3 is lit.
almost fixed it completely, the issue that I would have with this table, in that there are drop-down targets that stay drop down, and you're secretly trying to sneak a ball in a sinkhole behind the drop-down targets. But I feel like for the lower playfield to be this busy, and really to have only maybe 4 things you can shoot, it's a little bit unsatisfactory in the game flow. It seems like a lot of times you are just shooting the ball somewhere and then missing and then having to start over again and try another shot. It's bouncing off a lot of
35 years
corners.
for arms dealing.
Judge Morgan.
$10 million. Roger.
I think I drained all 4 balls there.
Jackpot is lit. Judge Mortis. Contain. I will be back.
I guess Judge Mortis may be the Judge Death's real name. And see, I don't know what you can really do with a comic book based pinball table if people are not familiar with the comic book. You could try to put your arcade next to a comic book shop, or sell comics in an arcade, which I imagine a lot of parents might have a problem with. So, yeah, and the game ends with a drive-by and the granny shooting Mac. Alright, so two-way combo and taking out the sniper is the only thing left. So if I click over here and click Super Game, now,
Player 1 is up.
let's see what's...
I'm Anita Man, and welcome to Super Game. A disgruntled postal worker has been seen building bombs.
10 million.
Now, I believe Super Games were more expensive.
Range shield deactivated.
I feel like if you're gonna have someone
Player 1 is up.
talk to you
Continues.
and have like whole narrations, that should have been in the main game. Like, you should put your best foot forward on the main product more than an extra product.
Range shield deactivated.
If Super Game was something more simplistic that would
15 years
be
of
like copy and pastable to mini pinball tables, I think that might be a smarter move also. Like, have Super Game mean you always start with a two-ball multi-ball.
Continues. Dead World has materialized.
Dead World defensive barriers at full power. Range shield deactivated.
At a certain level, if you're just always at multi-ball too, it's not going to be that special. And once you drain that multi-ball, you're probably at that point just playing, you probably are just playing standard, the standard game at this point.
Shoot left ramp.
Stop, or I will shoot.
So, yeah, I think you're better off just playing the Super Game every time. That being said, if you're playing with a controller,
3 years for vandalism.
I don't know how you trigger the Super Game.
Range shield deactivated.
This is a table that definitely feels like some editing would help it more than adding more
23 years
content.
for extortion.
There was the two-way combo done. Like, yeah, and I've seen that with other tables where I've had to say with other tables I would just throw out everything and start over from scratch. I wouldn't do that for this table if I was going to make a modernized version of it. It doesn't seem like there is actually a video mode in this. It
90 years for
doesn't seem like there's some deep lore references for 2000 AD, which that comic's been running for a very long time, so I think there could be a lot more deep lore references.
15 years for exhibitionism.
You could always add a kickback and a center peg. I would definitely change a lot of angles.
Great shot.
But I don't think
23
adding
years for
several
extortion.
different challenges or modes really does much different. I think there's possibly a mystery reward could be added that's not here. Maybe there is a mystery reward and I just haven't seen it, and that would be true for a lot of things I'm about to say, is that this table feels like it could have some
Dimensional
duplication
base
of some of the targets, like a lot of pinball tables could.
Dimensional is 1.
Meltdown is imminent.
And so that got the ball, and now the crane picks it up
3,
and
2, 1.
shoots it. So that was the first time I was able to look up and see the crane move the ball. Music's fine, but I would definitely put more music as a possibility. 2 or 3 different songs of the same feeling.
Suspicious character reported at Eugene Block.
It seems like all of the shots and all of the actions get started by
Dimensional is 2.
hitting the
Shoot left.
sinkhole at the top
Stop, or I will
right. And the multi-ball locks are by hitting the ramp on the
or I will
left.
shoot.
The one that's blinking right now.
Shoot.
Still not really sure what I'm supposed to be aiming for as far as the sniper hunt. So, what you can do for a lot of these games is simply have the game start a new mission if you hit a ramp 2 or 3 times. Also,
Roger.
Although on this table with the angles as they are, even hitting the same ramp multiple times is hard to do. And I mean hitting a ramp when it's unlit 2 or 3 times should start a mode.
For cannibalism.
You really shouldn't spend much time at all in a
90 years
outside
for
of a
kidnapping.
mission mode if the table does have missions. So nearly almost every action should either make progress towards starting the next mission or should just start the next mission. The audio abruptly cuts off.
3 years for vandalism.
I would potentially like to
Don't move.
see that. See. Yeah. I don't know if you can have much more characters because, like, Judge Anderson is kind of a character, but then Judge Dredd kind of isn't. And you kind of need a rogues gallery, much like how the Flash is not much of a superhero, but he becomes a much better superhero because he has a rogues gallery of enemies like Captain Cold and Mirror Master and a whole bunch of other characters. Even in the Sylvester Stallone,
Computer online.
I'm stuttering over
Welcome
here, movies, Sylvester Stallone isn't much of a
Range
actor,
is
and
25 years for auto theft.
so they put in Rob Schneider to be a comedic relief character.
Great shot.
I would also say thematically, Judge Dredd as a comic series only makes sense as a counter argument towards a lot of milquetoast wimpy comics, much like old Superman comics from the 60s and 70s.
90 years for kidnapping.
So you don't go super edgy until you've gone fairly bland. And I'd say for comic books that have been licensed and made into tables, they didn't go down that route. It would make so much more sense to have a flash-themed pinball table,
5%.
or a Superman or Batman, Wonder Woman table, Fantastic Four, X-Men. Like, you could go through a whole collection of comic book characters that almost everybody would at least partially recognize before Judge Dredd. Maybe Marvel and DC at the time in '93 were not willing to license themselves or out to pinball. Sure, that's believable.
3 years for vandalism.
The motorcycle, by the way, is called the Lawmaster.
Suspicious character reported at Eugene Block.
In the new movie, they make a much bigger deal about the
Stalking.
Peacekeeper, I think, which is the name of the gun.
Staking out a crack house in Sector 23.
Although there was also that sci-fi movie that had a whole group of enemies called the Peacekeepers.
Interesting.
What was that one called?
Shoot right red.
I want to say it was called Andromeda, but I know that's wrong. Farscape. That's what I'm thinking of.
Red to control. I'm in pursuit of a stolen vehicle.
Which, yeah, you could have done an interesting Farscape table, although that's kind of a niche product.
Your driving days are over.
But it is weird that there isn't a gun being even mentioned on this table, since it is the fancy gun with the different voice-activated bullets. They can
Mega City 1 is blacked out. Be
do
on the alert for looters.
all kinds of different damage. It's an interesting thought to turn off all the lights on the table and say the city is blacked out. You could probably pull off that trick for almost any table. Like the Family Opera table, it totally makes sense if the lights went out and it was dark and there was screaming Dracula. Another table where that would totally make sense.
Years for treason.
Shoot right red.
I find it funny that you get like life for cannibalism, but 85 years for treason.
I will be back.
This is one of those tables where it's slightly too easy to get a pin on
Get the
multi-ball.
extra ball. Great shot.
Slightly too easy to get an extra ball too. So I guess the pop-up bumper on the far left is supposed to represent the blaster.
Civil disorder has erupted at Heights Music Hall.
There seems to be no reference to drug use,
90 years for kidnapping.
even though this would be an exact example of drug use being punished. And I know in the comics there's, I think, a lot of drug use, people getting arrested and thrown in jail for using drugs.
Containment failure at 3 Meter Island.
35 years for arms dealing. 18 years for assault.
They want me to hit the captive balls, but
Meltdown.
haven't been really aiming for those shots. Needing to change up your shots can be off-putting.
Don't move.
You know just from that loop alone that this angle here is wrong. I wouldn't be draining out so often with the fast launching if there wasn't an awkward angle there. And maybe you just fix that by making the automatic launcher a little bit weaker, or maybe you put some wiggle in it so it slows down the ball as it's curving around. Usually you just make the launcher weaker. I'm a little surprised I've been playing this for 40 minutes. I kind of feel like I'd only been playing it maybe 30 minutes. So is it just better to get the super game every time because that...
Player 1 is up.
I bet it isn't
I'm
because...
Anita Mann, and welcome to Super Game. A disgruntled postal worker has been seen building bombs.
Shoot sniper tower.
Yeah.
Shoot sniper tower.
Big bomber! Super jackpot. 10 million.
So what am I supposed to be hitting?
Send backup unit.
There's multiple balls now.
Go for the 100 million.
There's like 6 balls on the table. Ridiculous.
4, 3, 2.
I could see a reason why you may not want to have
Sniper tower.
this game mode open to everybody. Having 4 or 5 different balls.
Shoot sniper tower.
It really comes down to, like, I bet the pros would hate this as much as the as the uninitiated would,
5 million.
because this is really random. I think what they want me to do is get cross shots on both of the ramps.
Super Game continues.
Freeze! Suspect got away.
Brain shield deactivated.
Go for the 100 million. 100 million. 10 million.
So the question is, what
Send backup
triggered the backup? Apparently it was spelling judge and hitting all the top down launchers, all the drop down launchers.
5 million.
And apparently I'm supposed to be spelling judge again. That seems to be one of only 2 things that are actually blinking. Come on. That was a replay. Yeah, I'm just trying to continuously spell judge.
5 million.
And as long as you're just keeping the ball in play,
Super jackpot.
the super jackpot is actually hitting the ball into the sinkhole at the top there.
Player 1 is up.
Super Game continues.
Great. Freeze! Suspect got away. Super jackpot.
Brain shield.
How did I get the super jackpot again? Did I hit the
Years for vandalism.
drop? What do I do to get back up?
Sniper is shooting into crowd from Johnson Tower.
Right.
Sector house is destroyed.
So what am I aiming for on the sniper shot? I see just a couple of things. There.
Shoot sniper tower.
That takes out the sniper shot, and that does also prove that we don't need
Sniper eliminated.
like we don't need to play the single mode to get
Sentinel
the
Phase 3 is lit.
to get what we want done, the wizard goals and the standard goals. I've been trying to shoot center lane shots, and now would be the time to shoot the left lane to get the multi-ball going. So I've got to shift up my gameplay.
Scratch one free.
Dimensional Phase 1.
I don't know if there really is a gate at the top there, or if this is a matter of you just have to hit the ball so that it lands at the dead world. Well, I do know there's a gate up there, but you must have to hit it
Player
multiple
one
times.
is up.
Super game continues. Dead
Alright, well,
World has material.
Get the extra ball.
so dead world with super game happening,
Great
getting a
job.
whole bunch of extra balls that may not really matter.
Dead world defensive barriers are down. Fire at will.
Yeah, I've heard from at least a couple of people that say Judge Dredd,
Send back
as the comic book as it is just too crazy to
Green shield
turn into any kind of other movie or make a real movie around. And I think I kind of agree.
10 million.
Yes. With so many balls in play, though, all you can really do is just hope to keep everything in play.
5 million.
Or I think my actual goal is to try and hit Dead World a couple more times on that left ramp. And I'm not getting powerful enough shots that are not bouncing against the wall or getting hit by another pinball to get up there.
Dead world defensive barriers are down. Fire at will.
So you've got to hit the... There we go.
Super jackpot.
So that was the super jackpot, is you've got to hit the Dead World ramp twice.
5 million.
And see, I may just have a massive score by the end of this game. And this is a legitimate game too, I'm not cheating.
Dimensional Phase 2.
I'm not using ball control or anything. So we might be in for quite the surprise here, where I'm in like the top 1,000 high scorers. And if I ever managed on the leaderboards to get to the like top 1 or top 100
Player one.
with a massively high score, then I have to eat my words as far as
Dead World has
assuming that
materialized.
everybody
Dead World defensive
on the top
barriers at
100
full power.
list cheated to put their score there through hacking or something.
Rain shield deactivated.
Three years for vandalism. 85 years for get the extra ball.
I have to admit though, I kind of also appreciate when you're not in a multi-ball and when you can just take your time and try and make a shot and actually get some practice on actually trying to hit a shot instead of just, you know, doing that. Like, this is helpful if the ball's about to drain out sometimes, and there is a time and place for
Super game continues.
random flipping.
Dead World has materialized.
Dead World defensive barriers at full power. Rain shield deactivated.
Send backup unit.
I'm still not sure
Rain
what
shield
gets
deactivated.
the
10 million.
what activates the backup unit call. And I guess maybe in a regular game you can get a whole bunch of balls on the table too. We'll have to play regular games. I think I'll probably have to play some more regular games off screen to ever figure that out. Because
Scratch one free.
this is going so
Dead
long.
World defensive barriers are down. Fire at will.
We're at 690 million.
Red to control. I'm in pursuit of a stolen vehicle.
It definitely feels like there's a lack of like real general concept here. Seems like you just light the lights multiple times and move the game forward. It doesn't feel like you're trying to light everything on the table and do every single mission for some final mission. If anything, it feels like the final mission is just the multi-ball and Dead World. Grand Champion Super Game. Well, that actually didn't get me at the highest score, though. My final score was 729. Wait, what? Look at the high scores again? Yeah. And see, that says Judge Dredd Super Game, but it then shows me the regular game. And then the wizard goals now are score 3-way combo, destroy an air raid missile, score 100 million super jackpot, score a 2 million plus end ball bonus, and activate the ultimate challenge. The wizard mode on this table is called the ultimate challenge. There are 2 ways to activate this multi-ball mode. First method is to score all 4 jackpots during multi-ball. I'll refer to the multi-ball chapter for that. So there's like 4 different jackpots. Interesting. Second is to activate multiple. The ultimate challenge is to play all 9 chain links. Interesting. Okay. Once all 9 links have been played, the ultimate challenge lamp flashes. While this is flashing, shoot the sniper tower, which is apparently the ramp up there, or the left ramp, when the build up chain feature is flashing. The number of balls launched during the ultimate challenge depends on how many were in play when it's activated. When it begins, the game will auto launch 3 balls, so the mode can be played as a 4, 5, or 6 ball multi-ball. If 4 balls were played during the ultimate challenge, when it's activated, it auto launches 2 balls for 6 ball play. The goal during this mode is to build up the ultimate challenge total, which is awarded once the ball drains as part of the end of the ball bonus. Starts at 20 million. While the ultimate challenge is activated, all of the crime scene shots remain lit. Each time a crime scene shot is completed, it adds a bunch of points. There is a question mark standing target there. You would think that that would give you some kind of mystery reward, but it doesn't feel like it does. Okay. Let's play, I guess, one more game if we go really well.
3 years for vandalism.
And once again, I've accidentally chosen an ugly skin. It's always the same one, so because I'm always hitting the same buttons.
Great shot.
So there might be an argument if you're trying to do all 9 chains to starting wizard mode, starting out of super game mode. That way you can move things along a little bit quicker instead of just focus on multi-ball.
Red to control. I'm in pursuit of a stolen vehicle.
Although arguably you're better off going the other route, starting super game and then going for the different jackpots, because that'll give you more points anyways.
Dimensional phase.
We're also going to have to remember 700 million when we look at the leaderboard, unless we get a higher score than that, because it is questionable whether a super game high score counts towards the online leaderboards or not.
Scratch 1 free. 5 million.
Of course, there's not really much motivation to get a high score on the leaderboards or on the high score tables anyways. It is simply pure bragging rights. Try that again with the standard pinball skin.
Brain shield deactivated.
There's still a lot of angles though where the ball is not making it up the ramp. So what you have here is a example of a table that's too easy, but then the angles are still pretty bad, which I would probably put this in the top 30, maybe 40 tables ever, as we start to look at the curation and see a decent number of tables that definitely shouldn't even be in the top 100 in my opinion. But I couldn't put this in the top 10 for sure. The angles are just way too off, and the visuals are a little too dark. The shots are a little dull. Instead of having 5 drop-down targets, it probably should have only like 3 and do some things more. It sucks that there's not room for some pop-up bumpers or a top lane. You're not spelling anything. using a in-lane or a top lane feature.
Your driving days are over, punk.
Mega City 1 is blacked out. Be on the alert for looters.
Send backup units.
Alright, so he just said send backup units, and the ball did not shoot any more
Dimensional phase 3 is lit.
things. Just the two balls were on the table and in play. And that is definitely
Dimensional phase 1.
more controllable than a 5 or 6 ball multi-ball. I can see the idea though also of having a super mode that makes it very easy to get to a 6-ball multi-ball, because clearly that's the gimmick that this table is gonna try and sell itself on.
Sniper is shooting into crowd from Johnson Tower.
Is that it has a
Shoot sniper tower.
a six ball multi-ball, so they have to make it so that you actually are going to
Dimensional phase 2.
be able to accomplish that fairly easily. And I just realized that he was screaming not because he was being dragged behind on the motorcycle, but because he was thrown out a window of one of the mega buildings, or mega towers, or whatever they're called.
Judge Mortis, contain.
Alright, so that's Judge Mortis.
Judge Fire. I will.
Civil disorder has erupted at Heights Music Hall.
So what are we shooting now? We're just trying to start another mission, I suppose. Which means I need to get the ball up to the sniper tower. Which, that's sometimes a fairly tough shot. Which really highlights that there should be an easier second way to start, or a at least different way to start a mission, or the sniper tower should be less of a focus and more centered to the table. Four chain links out of
Excellent.
several that need to be done. They do hold over for a ball,
Great
but
shot.
you basically would have to do 3 or 4 missions per ball. If that doesn't happen, you're not going to get all the chain links to even get to the multi-ball. Which ideally, you would want to see.
Sector house is
Like ideally, you would want to see multiple. Well, no, you'd want to start the multi-ball in that case with as many balls on the field as possible. So I've played a couple of games. And clearly it seems like, let's see what my score is. My score that is being counted all time has me at the 3,902nd score table, which at a certain point I feel like these leaderboards have been reset weekly. Playing this on early Wednesday morning, about 3 in the morning. I am number 6 and being beaten by people that have managed to do about double. Monthly, I'm in the top 10. That is really, really high scores. But I'm not super enthusiastic as far as this table.
And welcome to Super Game.
And I think that character's name is Anita Man, as in I need a man. That's what I'm thinking of saying as a joke. So let's see if we can get the wizard goals while we're doing wizard mode. I think the answer is yes. But is this the mode in which you can actually arrest and get the jackpots of the other 4 evil judges? I'd say part of the problem with the Sylvester Stallone movie 2 is it is really a condemnation of corruption amongst an authoritarian state. Man, I'm stuttering like crazy here. But I don't think Judge Dredd really has any statements like that. I think they revel in the idea of Judge Dredd being authoritarian and a shoot first, ask questions never type character. I think the violence is intentionally glorified for artistic effect. I think the extremeness is intentionally exaggerated to the highest possible levels. So I don't really feel like the story that was told in the Sylvester Stallone movie was in line with the themes and characters of the Judge Dredd comic books, whereas I think the later Judge Dredd movie was more in line with that
Super
theme.
Game continues. A disgruntled poster worker has been seen building bombs.
5 million.
That being said, even though the new Judge Dredd was critically acclaimed, it didn't lead to any new sequels or anything like that.
Jackpot. Go for the 100 million.
I want to change the camera angle, but playing this Super Go game, there's like never really a opportunity to hit the ball. And you just like draining out a ton of time, so
Great shot.
I've really run out of things to say. When you're playing a game like this, it really is just all about focusing in on
18 years for assault.
focusing in on the play and playing really well.
Jackpot is lit.
Alright, let's try and get the jackpot while we're here. I think to get the jackpot I have to hit the ball in the top center.
Life or terrorism. 2 years for speeding.
I don't think I fully understand the concept between the different crimes lining up. What that actually does. Whether that indicates that there is a ramp somewhere I can shoot.
Scratch one free.
Or, yeah, that's probably what that means. Is that there's a specific shot.
Super game continues. A disgruntled postal worker has been seen building bombs.
There must have been a version of this table that wasn't a super game at some point. Maybe it never actually got into production and nobody ever played it, but
Shoot, sniper
it may
tower.
still have been exactly the same and just not had the super game mode. Arguably by 1993's time even, just adding a mode called Super Game
5%.
is not a wild enough title. It needed to be called something like Ultimate Game or Pinball Wizard Mode or Mania Mode. Hyper Mode, something like that. Ultra Mode, maybe. Super is just too small of a descriptor.
Super game continues. A disgruntled postal worker has been seen building bombs.
Over the 100 million. 100 million.
We got 100 million, and that's
Excellent.
another wizard gold down.
Send backup unit.
I just barely got the backup units in time.
Green shield deactivated.
So what can we
Sniper tower.
pull?
Shoot, sniper tower.
Alright, get the ball up. The sniper tower shot.
Containment failure at 3 Meter Island.
Shoot captive balls. Well, I don't think I can hit that with the right flipper at all, so how do I get the ball into the left flipper effectively?
Meltdown is imminent. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
85.
I didn't hit the captive balls fast enough, and then I just got it. These flippers must be really nicely placed because I've been able to save the ball a lot of times. Usually it's a case where the Williams tables flippers are a little bit
I'm staking out a crack
further
house in
apart.
sector 23.
So what am I supposed to be shooting for the safe house? I guess the right ramp, since that is blinking. if I pay attention to it.
Life for murder.
Shoot right red.
Well, I didn't accomplish anything as far as that mission, but it kind of doesn't matter if you actually
15
accomplish
years of
the
exhibition.
missions. You just need to start them and keep the ball in play long enough. Meanwhile, you could pretty much just cradle the ball and wait for it to end.
Dimensional phase 1 is lit.
Life for murder.
I feel like that left kickback is supposed to hit the ball so that it could go all the way on the ramp to the right. But it seems like they didn't even get the angle right themselves. Yeah. Instead, it just hits the judge letters. And I don't know any way you would actually be able to nudge that to get it to actually hit what you're aiming for.
Player 1 is up.
Super game continues. A disgruntled poster worker has been seen building
And
bombs.
even though the super game doesn't end up in the high scores, it still gets the wizard goals, so play a couple super games.
Over 100 million.
And this is gonna go long at this rate.
Bad bomber!
4, 3,
Super jackpot. Player 1 is up.
Super game continues. A disgruntled poster worker has been seen building bombs.
So we want center lane shots.
green shield deactivated.
To get the extra people. We want right loop shots to actually accomplish the mission.
Dimensional phase 1.
We want multi-ball if we can. I feel like I'm fairly close to
5
once
million.
again just lighting extra ball, which I feel like I've gotten so many that I wouldn't be upset if the table just said you can't have any more extra balls. Like we have yet to actually run into a scenario where I actually did collect the extra balls so often that it shut me off. It cut me off.
Your driving days are over, punk. Great shot.
I feel like what I'm doing to get the extra ball probably
Dimensional phase
should
2 is lit.
start a multi-ball instead, because we're seeing a big difference here as far as how easy it is to get an extra ball versus
Player
multi-ball.
1 is up.
Super game
And
continues. A
extra ball
disgruntled poster worker has been
Is
seen
way
building
more
bombs.
valuable. And if I need to quit draining,
Green shield deactivated.
like I can't really blame the game for taking the ball saver off of that after
Warning for littering.
draining like 5 balls in a row.
15 years of exhibitionism. 5 million.
Dimensional phase 2.
And once again, I've just gone quiet because I'm doing fairly well. It kind of sucks though that this might be the best table I'm good at, because I'd much rather be known for being good at Funhouse. I'd much rather be getting those kind of high scores. I imagine there's a lot more competition to be the best of the best amongst Funhouse versus Judge Dredd as a table. Although, arguably, if I was going to buy a pinball table, being able to succeed so well on this does make a interesting argument around buying this table versus, say, Twilight Zone, which would be way more expensive.
Dimensional phase 3 is lit.
So yeah, if somebody told me I could get a Judge Dredd pinball table in decent shape for say, let's say $1,000, whereas a Twilight Zone in decent shape would almost certainly cost $2,000 or $3,000, and I knew I did really well on Judge Dredd, I might consider that. Although that's kind of a dumb thought, because who knows how well I actually would play this table in the real world. I don't believe I ever saw this table in the real world, where I definitely did play Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm fairly certain I played Twilight Zone in the real world.
Send backup unit. Go for the 100 million.
Alright, there is one more mission that
4, 3, 2.
Super jackpot.
that like there's one more mission chain to accomplish.
5 million.
So if we stop that one mission, theoretically we should activate the final thing.
Player 1 is up.
Super game continues.
Dead World defensive barriers at full power.
Come on.
Rain shield deactivated.
Send backup unit.
Yeah, so many times I'm about to end the multi-ball,
10 million.
and then I get that last letter. Keep the balls in play.
Dead World defensive barriers are down. Fire at will.
Million.
There we took out Dead World
Super jackpot.
for Super Jackpot.
Rock.
I don't know if I can get more
5
backup
million.
in this mode, or if that happens only once. It seems like it probably only happens once. So I guess it is the fact that there is a big slow spinning thing that's your timer as far as hitting and attacking Dead World.
5 million.
So if you were going to make a smaller
5 million.
Dead World disc, you would have to make it spin a little bit slower. But that could easily
Dead
be
World
adjusted.
defensive barriers are down. Fire at will.
Super jackpot.
Yeah. And I think I couldn't have started that final mission until I had ended that jackpot, so I still didn't get all the chain links. And I think that probably goes to show something, certainly, is that if you do choose to play the wizard mode, you're going to have to let the ball drain a few times. Or you're just going for high score on wizard mode that doesn't seem to count for much of anything. Alright. So as far as wizard goes, you wish to do a 3-lane combo. You shoot the left loop, followed by the top right loop, then the center ramp. And I don't know how you hit the center ramp really that quickly. Like, that seems like you could only do that by playing a multi-ball mode and just getting really lucky. Unique mode to this table is called Airaid Shooting, the Airaid ramp, which is that, which we pretty much never hit. When this lamp is lit, activates Airaid mode. This lamp is always lit, except for during any multi-ball mode. The goal during an Airaid is to shoot down a missile. When it starts, the ball is fed to the kickback and held there. The judge drop target reset, and it begins cycling between judge drop target launches. You have 10 seconds to engage the left cabinet button to launch the ball from the kickback. Timing is so that the thing would hit that. Okay. You get one attempt each time Airaid mode is activated. So I haven't done Airaid mode even once. See, and that's an example of something that in playtesting you could have easily removed and save that for Judge Dredd 2 if you're ever going to make a Judge Dredd 2. And arguably, because the pinballs don't typically have sequels, nothing is left on the cutting room floor. And then to get a 200 million into ball bonus, it feels like that's something I would have gotten. Point totals accumulate for each of the chain links on the current. Additional million for each chain link played on the current ball, which there are 8 chain links, I believe, 9 maybe. And then the 2x multiplier by hitting the captive balls with a hard enough force to make it hit their switches. Second time this is accomplished, it adds a 2x multiplier. Okay. So yeah, I think I could probably pull this off. Eventually I would probably pull this off, and eventually I'd probably pull this off. And I don't know if there's much in the way of things that you could change here. I think it just specifically told you that since the door is open, it's going to make the playfield less energized so you don't electrocute yourself. Or maybe it just put a warning saying you could electrocute yourself. Track sounds off, family mode off. Yep, these Williams tables do seem to have the same thing. Ball save 5 seconds. Manhunt timer 30 seconds. Sniper target. Like, none of these at first glance feel like they are really off. This is a super easy table. Buying extra balls is an interesting idea, and I'm glad by default it's off. I'm fairly certain I did see that in at least one table, one pinball table, and actually playing pinball. No, I don't even think I want to play a full game here, but I want to see
Lawmaster
what we could
Computer
really
Online.
control
Welcome
with ball control. Because,
aboard. Rain shield deactivated.
like, hitting the captive balls, even if you could get the angle right, I think there's no way you're gonna be able to hit them with any real force. Yeah, that's about as much as I can hit them. And sure, you can spell judge. Yeah, I feel like you could probably have had 2 drop-down targets that would have spelled Judge Dredd, or 3 that would spell, well, it would take more to spell Dread, D-R-E-E-D would be the same. Wow, that reset everything. So the game,
Dimensional phase 3 is lit.
yeah, with ball control, I don't think you can really get to that far. So for a lot of these tables, instead of ball control, what you really need is save states. Alright, so this is the raid mode.
Great shot.
And so
Missile
doing that was what you need to do for Airaid. Good to know. So I had started Airaid mode before. But if you were going to do a 3-way combo, you'd have to go up here, up there, and then I think all the way.
Civil disorder has erupted at Hike's Music Hall.
Let's see, you have to go up here, and then you have to hit this ramp around that way, and then you have to hit the ball, I think. Let's see. Gotta get some momentum even to get the ball up. Then you'd have to hit up that center ramp, and I'm not sure I've ever hit up the center ramp even once.
Containment failure at 3-meter island.
So yeah, you can put the balls here,
90 years for kidnapping.
line the ball up, and practice your shots. And that's about all ball control is good for. Is just lining it up, yourself up, like saving yourself from the occasional
4,
drain out.
3, 2, 1.
18 years for assault.
But even if you are lining up a shot for these lower playfield flippers, you're pretty much guaranteeing a high chance of failure, because it's such a weak, wimpy ball control that you can easily drain the ball out on accident. And save states and time rewinding in the emulation would make way more sense. Or just practice shots in general. It would make so much sense if every instruction here talked about, like, here's what you do to do a skill shot. Press A now to practice a skill shot. Here's what you do to activate blackout mode. Press now to activate the game at blackout mode. Here's what you do to do battle tank. Press A now. So you could just jump to like each of these modes from a save state to practice, and then not give any wizard goals or anything while doing that, but still let people practice and try, instead of having to struggle to get to say the final ultimate challenge, which I already actually did accomplish. I didn't even realize I did that. But yeah, struggling to get to this point to then fail to finish the ultimate challenge, which I guess in this case wasn't actually the goal, sucks, certainly. If you spend 40-50 minutes trying to get to one section and don't actually accomplish it. So I don't see how Judge Dredd doesn't end up in my top 30 tables as just the fact that I did so well on it. Although arguably even doing so well, my Hall of Fame score seems to only be 82, so yeah, there's something still weird about that. That being said, if we look at my tables, I feel like more than any other table, Judge Dredd is being forced into that collection than me actually having a real love for it. There's definitely some problems with it, and I would love to see a second pass for Judge Dredd, a remake of Judge Dredd. They should have done that when the new movie came out, and I don't know if they did or not. But it's nice to see a table that's at least decent or at least fun to play, even if the design is a little bit bad. Weirdly, I really have nothing to say about it being a wide table. It seemed to work perfectly fine being a wide table. It didn't go anywhere as crazy as things like Paragon and Genie did, being wide tables, which that's the last time we've seen any wide tables is from 70s era tables. So if 1993 was the point that a 78-79 table got returned and recycled, then you've got a pretty good 20 years of life out of some of the cabinets. We have still a decent chance that Last Action Hero and Pistol Poker might both be good. We want to see at least one of them really good. And yeah, I seriously doubt there's any other Judge Dredd themed tables out there. Or comic book themed. Arguably, a lot of the generic themes around the table is so comic book like anyways that you don't really need a superhero concept. Particularly when you're talking about the 70s era things. Like Gorgar is so comic book like anyways that it feels in the same vein. Is another good example of that. Black Knight. There literally is a Black Knight in Marvel comic books, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other tables that are super comparable to that. Elvira is basically a comic book character, I would say. Dracula, the Addams Family, class of 1812, all fairly comic booky. Fishtails, comic booky too. Anyways, we've gone really long. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.